A little girl sobbed in hand pain. Seconds later, then suddenly, her millionaire father rushed in and shouted she was only 6, crying in pain, clutching her swollen hand in a crowded ER. Nurses glanced, whispered, and looked away. Minutes passed. No help came. Then suddenly, the doors burst open. Her father, a wealthy black man in a tailored suit, rushed in, voice thundering with urgency. The room froze. Within seconds, everything changed. Doctors appeared. Chairs were offered. Painkillers brought swiftly, but why did it take his presence? His status, for her to be seen. What does it say when a child's suffering is ignored until power walks in? This moment reveals a reality that many families are all too familiar with. Why do some lives have to prove they matter? Her name was Amara, 6 years old, with bright eyes that lit up at the sight of butterflies, and a laugh that filled the room like music. She lived in a quiet suburb with her parents, in a home filled with books, piano lessons, and weekend walks through the park. Her father, Marcus, was a self-made entrepreneur, a man who'd built his tech company from the ground up, determined to give his family everything he never had. Her mother, Lena, was a pediatric nurse, compassionate, steady, and the kind of person who noticed when someone was hurting. Life wasn't perfect, but it was safe, or so they thought. That afternoon had started like any other. Amara playing on the swing set in the backyard, her small hands gripping the chains tightly. Then came a scream, a fall. Her hand twisted beneath her, swelling instantly. Panic set in. They rushed to the nearest hospital, hoping for quick care. The waiting room was crowded, but they didn't mind. They just wanted help for their daughter. But as minutes turned to nearly an hour, something felt off. Nurses passed by, glancing at Amara's cradled hand, then at her parents, dressed neatly, speaking calmly, before turning away. No one came. And then, quietly, a thought crept in. Would we be ignored if we looked different? But this wasn't about appearance. It was about assumption. And what happened next would force them to confront a truth they'd hoped their success had shielded them from. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Amara whimpered, her small body curled in the rigid plastic chair, her hand now a deep shade of red. Lena knelt beside her, voice calm but firm, asking a nurse for the 3rd time. "My daughter needs help. She's in pain. Can someone please take a look?" The nurse behind the counter didn't look up. "We'll call you when it's your turn." But other patients, fewer injuries, quieter voices, were being called ahead. A woman who'd walked in after them got an ice pack within minutes. A man with a scraped knee was already in an exam room. Yet Amara, tears streaking her cheeks, remained invisible. Marcus arrived moments later, rushing through the sliding doors, tie loose, briefcase in hand. He'd been in a board meeting across town when Lena called. The moment he stepped in, he saw it, the dismissal in the staff's eyes, the way they avoided contact, the subtle shift in posture when he approached the desk. He didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "My daughter has been waiting over an hour. She's hurt. She needs care." Now, still silence. A clerk flipped a page. Another checked a phone. Then Marcus did something unexpected. He pulled out his phone and started recording. The moment the red light appeared, the energy in the room changed. A nurse suddenly appeared, clipboard in hand. "Oh, hello. We didn't see you there. Let's get her in right away." Too late. The damage was done. As Amara was finally wheeled into a room, Marcus stood frozen in the hallway, heart pounding. It wasn't just anger, it was grief. Grief that his child had to suffer just to be seen. Grief that his presence, his voice, and his status were the only things that unlocked basic human decency. And then came the X-ray. If we'd treated the wound sooner, we could have avoided complication. This wasn't just neglect. It was a pattern so quiet, so routine, it could be mistaken for an accident. But Marcus knew better. He'd felt it before, the extra scrutiny at airports, the security guards who followed him in stores, the way people clutched their bags when he walked by. He'd told himself he'd outrun it with success. But no amount of money could armor a child's skin. And now, as he watched his daughter drift off under pain medication, a single question burnt in his chest. How many others were ignored before they made enough noise to be heard? The hospital room fell silent, except for the soft beep of the monitor and Amara's shallow breathing. Marcus stood by her bed, staring at the cast now wrapped around her tiny arm, proof of pain that could have been prevented. But the real wound wasn't visible on X-ray. He turned to the doctor, voice low but trembling with restrained fury. She waited 72 minutes while less urgent cases were treated. Why? Because we're black, did you presume our insignificance? That we just sit and accept it? Sir, I can't speak to the triage process. No, Marcus cut in, stepping forward. You don't get to hide behind procedure. This isn't about triage. It's about what you saw when you looked at my daughter. Did you see a child in pain, or did you see another one of them? Not urgent, not worth your time. A nurse tried to intervene. We're sorry she had to wait, but we're doing our best. Your best? Marcus's voice cracked like thunder. You'd best let a 6-year-old suffer, because her skin didn't signal worth to you. Lena placed a hand on his arm, tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the crushing weight of recognition. This wasn't an isolated moment. It was a lifetime of being overlooked, underbelieved, and undervalued. No matter how hard they worked, how well they spoke, or how sharp their clothes. Then quietly, Amara stirred. Daddy, does it hurt less now because the doctor came? The question sliced through him, because in her innocent mind, pain was treated when help arrived. She didn't yet understand that some people are made to wait for care, for dignity, for justice, simply because of how they look. Marcus knelt beside her, swallowing the lump in his throat, and in that breath he made a choice. He pulled out his phone, opened a live stream, and hit record. This, he whispered, the camera facing the hospital hallway, is what happens when a child's pain isn't seen until a black man demands to be heard. The screen lit up with comments within seconds. But the real story was just beginning. Amara healed, the cast came off, her laughter returned, but something inside her parents would never be the same. Marcus's live stream went viral. Thousands shared the raw, unfiltered moment, when a child's pain was finally seen, only after a black father demanded it. The hospital issued a statement, regrettable delays, reviewing protocols, committed to equity, words, always words. But change didn't come from their remorse. It came from the outrage of people who finally saw what so many have lived for generations, that in a system built on assumptions, humanity is often withheld until power forces it to be given. So he partnered with advocacy groups, pushed for bias training in local hospitals, and started a fund to support families facing medical neglect due to race. But he knew no policy, no training, no apology could erase the moment his daughter's pain was deemed unimportant. Because this wasn't just about one hospital. It was about every ER, every school, every workplace where black pain is minimized. It was about mothers who are dismissed in lab R, about children labeled disruptive instead of hurting, and about lives lost because someone in a uniform or a white coat assumed instead of acted. This story didn't end in that hospital room. It echoes in every silence that follows a cry for help. And more importantly, what will you do when you witness someone else being made to wait? Will you speak? Will you record? Will you stand? If this story moved you, share it, talk about it, demand better.